All right, so I'll lead that to our segue question. Did Trump win it or did she lose it?
Man, she definitely lost that. Man, if you can't beat a man that has all these felonies running in and out of court, he did. They try to put a coup on all the other type of stuff. If you can't beat this man with all this rhetoric, then that's a indictment on you as a candidate and on the party you represent. Because this should have been a layup. And then again, also, if Trump can't beat Kamala, who didn't put hardly any policies on her website, she can barely make it through an interview. Um, and she has a crazy record in California with like prosecutions, and not to mention the whole Willie Brown when we bring the morality into the question and anything like that. If Trump can't beat her, that's an indictment on him as well. This was, yeah, Trump won, but I think America kind of lost, but we didn't lose as bad as we would have lost if Kamala would have won.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Go ahead, A-Black. Listen.
I'm saying, yeah, I think Trump won it only because I don't think she had enough time to really build a strong thing. Like, I can't really remember no time in history where nobody's had like that short amount of time to get a campaign going. So I feel like it was rushed, it was frantic, and because of that, it introduced a lot of elements that turned people off. It created the energy, like the dudes just said in the clip, the moral superiority thing. Like, people are literally bullying people just for having alternative thought. You might not even said your choice yet, but if you're just having a different thought, like you're a Trump supporter, you're this and that, and you, after a while, that people grow resentment. I'm just not voting this because I don't like how y'all are doing my thought right now. You're bullying me, you chastising, and it was just like meanness for real. Like, why are you not educating people? Why are you not showing them these facts that you claim to have, but you don't never show? It's just like they turn a lot of people off because it's like y'all can't be talking about morality, and then the people that y'all put in front of us are immoral people. It was just like a lot of hypocrisy in their campaign. And but yeah, I think he won it just because she didn't really have time to have a fair fight really against him in time wise. Like, it was Joe Biden, oh shit, Kamala, we're scrambling, and now we here. You know, she got beat bad because we didn't give people the chance to choose. And so that's where they fucked up.
You think she would have done better with more time? I think she would have lost worse because the more she talked, it seemed like.
I think she could have done better with more time, but I think it was already over when they didn't allow people to choose. Because when you remember the primaries, the first time, I don't think she came in top 3, you know, like, so there hasn't been a lot of love for her. So you kind of like, you do that. They pick her as vice president for optics because of Joe Biden, oh, white man, we need this black, fresh HBCU grad. Optics because she was against Joe Biden. She was believing his accusers and all of this stuff. And then fast forward, you know, they got to scramble and put her in office, but people never voted for her. So she already was kind of losing from the jump because it's like nobody chooses you. We kind of having to force. We voted against Trump. We're not voting for Kamala, and I think that's really a lot of her supporters was like just anti-Trump, not really pro-Kamala. We would have voted for anybody that's Democrat, and we just got her, so whatever. But a lot of people was like, nah, we not voting for her because we ain't choose her. We'll fuck with him, but we ain't choose her. That's all it came down to.
Nah, so basically, if she had more time, she wouldn't have even been a candidate at all. My bad.
More than likely. I think if they would have had primaries and put new people in there, I don't think she would have won the primary. I don't think she would be a strong enough candidate yet.
G, let me ask you. So did Trump win it or did Kamala lose it? What is your thoughts?
Yeah, man, I think I agree more with A Black was saying here. I don't think Kamala lost it. The Democrats lost it with just the whole, or really, honestly, like Biden, like it's just Biden and Trump are on the same scale. One is just a different temperature than the other. They're the same thing. Biden's ego and need for being president and power is what ruined the Democrats' chances of winning this election. If I agree, had they opened it up, they would have had a better chance, because the reality is that Kamala Harris as an individual has no fan base before she got announced to replace Joe Biden. No fan base. She was widely regarded as one of the worst vice presidents from a rating perspective that we've had. Prior to her being selected as vice president, when they chose her on the Biden ticket, that was a big eyebrow raiser from the start. Like, they're pandering to black people, choosing this black woman on the ticket with Biden. And then before she got selected as vice president, like A Black said, she didn't even make it out of like the top whatever for the Democratic primary. She didn't even make it to like the final vote. She has no real fan base. And so the Democrats being cornered, raising all this money for Biden, and then the money starts to dry up, and they're like, nah, you guys got to do something different. They effectively staged like a coup to get them out. And because legally they had raised all that money and they couldn't do anything else with it, they had to have Kamala fill that seat so that they didn't just waste all that money that they raised. So just a terrible situation for, say, Kamala to be put in, if I'm being honest. Like, I don't even think she asked for that. It was more like, hey, you up next, you got to do this. But I would say it's not really on her more so than it is on how the party went about this from the start. But even more specifically, Joe Biden is no different than Donald Trump in terms of their ego and their need for power, and their the fact that they don't want to relinquish that power.
Unwillingness to concede.
Correct. Biden didn't even speak in Pennsylvania for Kamala. Think about that. That's that nigga's home state. He didn't even speak in Pennsylvania, and that was like the key to the whole thing was Pennsylvania. Who's gonna win Pennsylvania? This nigga did not even.
And which, if she also was just smart, she'd have got the Shapiro cat that was the governor.
Another misstep. She should have got the governor of Pennsylvania.
But we'll have a full conversation about what we believe perceived she did wrong.
Yeah, bring that back.
But do want to answer to or read out the super chat really quickly. $5 shout out to Alex Orange. Says, let me guess, getting reparations no longer a priority, right? Now that Trump is in, getting rid of immigrants is more important than a check now. Trey, I'll direct that to you. I'll give you a quick, give you a minute, then I'm going to throw it to Johnny for him to answer the question.
Man, the Democrats love to do that, bro. Like, they want to tell us that Trump's not going to give us reparations. Meanwhile, they're not planning on giving us reparations either. They'll work with Gavin Newsom to kill a Democratic bill, even though the Democrats have the House, have the Senate, and they also have the governor, and they'll kill a reparations bill and tell us not to vote for Trump because Trump's not going to do reparations. So, like, we're not falling for that anymore, bro. So the second priority, if immigration isn't an option this election, is either one, not get involved with the system, like delegitimize it. You know, if they're not going to give us anything, then why would we bother? The second option is, I think immigration is the second highest priority for Black people, because immigration typically, if we're forced to the bottom economically, we're going to be the most impacted by immigration. So that is as close to a tangible as we'll get, especially if the immigrants and migrants and everything, they don't have any, like, we aren't looking out for us. So why does it bother us? Or why do we, I don't like if it benefits us to deport them, then, like, you can't shame us for not looking out for our own best interest. That's a slave mentality, when you're expected to do things that benefit other people and it don't benefit you, and you get shamed for not following along. So no, man, nobody's giving us reparations. So yes, deport them.
Gotcha. Johnny, did Trump win it or did she lose it?
I think she definitely lost it. But like the panelists said, I think she didn't have a fair fight. I think the Democratic Party more so lost the election than it all being solely Kamala's fault. I think she gave it an effort. I think there's things she could have did better. She could have had better policy. She could have, did stuff earlier. But I think the Democratic Party fumbled the transition from Joe Biden to Kamala. I think or Joe Biden to whoever, possibly a better candidate that would have pushed Trump a little harder. So not Kamala, but I think the whole Democratic Party dropped the ball on this.
Gotcha. Okay. So I guess now as we start segueing, I'm gonna play a couple memes. that the panel sent in, and then we'll kind of build our conversation around what did she do wrong. Let me rephrase.
Do y'all remember when y'all was kids and you did something wrong and your parents said, we're going to talk about this tomorrow? White women, we're going to talk about this tomorrow. These are numbers from Pennsylvania, and all the votes, of course, are not in, but I don't see these demographic numbers changing that drastically. For white women, what's going on? What is going on? This is 3 elections in a row where I'm seeing white women teeter the line in Donald Trump's favor. 3 elections in a row. This is Georgia. White women, what's going on? What's going on? 3 elections in a row. This Pennsylvania and Georgia. Battleground states.
Would actually like to put this narrative to bed, maybe a realignment thing. One place, and I would actually like to put this narrative to bed, maybe forever. One place there's not going to be a realignment, Black men. Every 4 years, I go through the ritual of having to talk down, this the sort of world that wants to say that Black men are just realigning and they're all going to run to Donald Trump. There is literally no difference in the exit polls. A 1-point difference is not a difference at all between where Black men were in 2020 and where they are in 2024. It's not Black men. They are not the ones shifting. What you're seeing are shifts among Latino voters, for sure. But you are not seeing shifts among Black men. Please stop saying Black men.
The only area.
So you asked, are there any places that the vice president is overperforming Joe Biden in 2020? So we could show you that as well. We just bring that out here. Harris overperforming in 2020.
Holy smokes.
There you go. So let this go away and see if there's anything on the east side there.
Literally nothing?
Literally nothing.
Literally not one county?
By 3% or more. At least in the county right now. And so you come in full county there. So there you see, but that's states. Yeah. So in counties, in 58 counties.
The one there are so many questions for the Democrats to answer, but one of them, the one that I just saw that's going to be staring them in the face for some time if they don't do something about it, is that 45% of Hispanics voted for Donald Trump.
45.
We've all been talking about a new Republican Party. There needs to be a new Republican Party. This morning, this is about as bleak as any time for Democrats since the so-called 1984 San Francisco Democrats. It's time for the Democrats to take a good, long, hard look at how this happened. And if they just say Trump bad, Democrats virtuous, they're going to keep losing because this, again, is so widespread. This is not about just Donald Trump. This is about the Democratic Party and being radically disconnected from the rest of the country. Look at the map.
All right, and I got one last one.
One of them is the youth vote traditionally goes to the Democrats, not so much in this one.
Yeah, big movement here. Let's call up the exit polls from last night. Take a look. Okay. Voters under 30. And we got here a comparison to what happened last night and what happened 4 years ago. So last night, now Democrats still won. We say Democratic candidate because it was Harris last night, Biden in 2020. So Harris wins the youth vote by 13 points. But 4 years ago, Joe Biden won it by 24 points. So basically got cut in half. And the other interesting part about this is overall, we had a gender gap last night, but it wasn't as big as people were expecting it to be. But it was massive among the youngest voters. Among men under 30, Harris won by 2 points. Wow. Among women under 30, Harris won by 36 points. So the gender gap is growing among the youngest group of voters. Overall, less Democratic, but look at that gap.
I thought it was also interesting that in the last election, Biden won women by a larger margin than Harris won women in this election.
Yeah. All right, fellas. So I guess I'll toss with the first one. There was a lot of memes, so it was a lot to unpack, but that kind of sits as the bed for a bit of this conversation. Starting it off, who's to blame? We did hear rolling into the election, there was a lot of criticism levied at Black men and Black men's willingness to vote for a woman, a Black woman. And if the election was lost, it would be at the hands of black men. I'll ask y'all, in your opinion, who's to blame for this loss? Is there a demographic to blame? I think that some people have said that white women were the largest minority and / the largest voter base in general. There has been a swing when it comes down to the Latino vote, especially Latino men, but generally speaking, Latinos. There hadn't been too much of a change within the black vote, but they like black people did vote at a lower rate than say during the Obama years and maybe it was the Hillary year. Who's to blame? Are black men at fault?
Of course not.
No, absolutely not. I think the shift in the Latino vote was definitely a big one. And then Kamala not connecting with white women. I think that was the big layup as a woman, possibly the first woman president. I think that's a big layup that you miss. I don't know how she could have, connected with women better. I'm not a woman. That's, something she'll have to, in the Democratic Party would have to reflect on. But I think there was a big, missed opportunity given, some of the history that Kamala could have made.
Yeah, man. It's Democrats, man. They lost it. Bad marketing, weaponizing the gender war, weaponizing identity politics, and not really putting out no real issues. Like one of the clips said, it was just like everything Trump bad, Trump bad. Well, you a Trump. So, like I said, that turns people off. So what are you offering other than saying that me typically thinking makes me a Trump supporter, or me having a question, makes me wrong? So you got people taking their vote and then going in silent because everybody's like living in the bubble of their thought, and they bleeding and blocking people that don't think like them. So they live in this bubble of like, now they think that, oh, we got this because everybody think like me. But no, you block everybody that would have kind of give you opposition. So you don't really.
That's such a great point. We almost live inside our own, or the people that exercise those things, and you was able to see it highlighted today.
And the algorithm does that to us too.
But it's an even more curated algorithm that's specifically your thoughts, and you've already eliminated anything that could be counter of that. My bad, A Black. Great point.
Yeah. Nah, and so yeah, like I say, just weaponizing identity politics, making this thing kind of devolve into women's right issues, which our women are facing issues, but our women are also the freest women in the world. Like, no government official is coming in your bed and ripping the baby out your womb. Like, you have control to make your own decisions. You have freedom and stuff. So, but they just weaponize that, and that the white women, a lot of them are against abortion. A lot of them don't feel like their rights are at stake. They are more, I feel, threatened and insecure by the alternative. Like I say, what was kind of Kamala's campaign, black women, and all of these things, that is an attack on white women. That's an attack on white men too. I mean, you know what white men are gonna go for anyway, and it's like no smoke for them at all. Like, they got a number like 74% and all of this, huge numbers, and it ain't no smoke for them because it's just like that's become the norm. We expect white men to do that. But why? Like, hold them accountable too. Challenge them and their thoughts. But they's like, all right, we can't say shit to white men, so let's attack our own. Even though they all voted overwhelmingly for her, we just gonna attack niggas anyway. And it's like, yo, this shit's getting old.
Got you. So I guess really quickly, let me read. I guess one quick room set. We will be having call-in soon. Just be prepared. That might be within the next 20, 30, at the latest, 40 minutes. But I know that we got a decent amount inside the chat, decent amount just engaging in the conversation and kind of want to have their piece heard, especially if you feel like we might not be being the fairest. So we will be dropping the link soon. So make sure that you pay attention to that. I do have Brother Marcus. He has sent the super chat. Again, We're streaming on 2 channels. And let me put this down. All the cash apps are right there. If you want to support one of our brothers on the panel, make sure that you hit the cash app. To Be Fair Show is streaming. Super Chat XYZ. G-ish Pod is streaming. Super Chat XYZ. With that said, Brother Marcus asks, who y'all vote for? Making excuses for that Greek. I don't know. Does anybody want to speak to who they voted for? If not, it's cool if you don't want to.
Election is over.
It's quiet on the panel.
Election is over.
Cornell West.
You said Cornell West.
Dr. Cornell West, yeah.
All right. It sounds like the rest of the panel is going to.
I didn't vote for Trump. I'll say that much.
Got you.
You didn't vote for Kamala, did you?
Nah.
I mean, you don't say that. Okay, word. I mean,
yeah, I didn't vote for either one of those two, so I'll say that.
And that's big, bro, because like in the Obama election, when we voted, everyone on this panel probably voted for Obama, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's a step in the right direction because now nobody on this panel voted for Democrats. So if we're any reflection of, our demographic, then
I'm also not a registered Democrat either. I'm unaffiliated, so I'm not affiliated with any party.
Yeah, that's why I'm so proud of this generation, man. Because like our parents' generation, they were religiously Democrats. Like they didn't. That's why we're having to work so hard now to train them that they can't take us for granted. Is because our parents' generation taught them that they can just depend on our vote. So it really made no sense for them to do anything for us because, like, why? Why bother?
Got you.
Are you gonna kind of answer your last question, or are you about to move on?
Oh no, I was about to redirect back to that. Okay. Who's to blame? Is it black men's fault? Trey, talk to us.
Man, in those clips, it was crazy because the black people in the clip, it's like they cannot fathom women of other races following male leadership. It's like a whole different language to them. So I think we're at least partly to blame because the black turnout was down and the black people who did vote were less inclined to vote for Democrats than they have been in a long time. So that just the volume, because last election, I think it was like it was so close that like a stadium full of people would have been enough to like swing the election because of just how the electoral college works and if you place those people in the right spot. So I think the little bit of us that did make a difference, those were votes that, if properly placed, because we do make a higher population in the inner cities of a lot of these swing states, I think it could have been more impactful than the stats may make it seem. And also, if we aren't to blame, then why did they go out of their way pandering to us and shaming us?
So you believe that we are to blame?
We're at least partly to blame. We're definitely, yeah. I think.
But for you, that's like a sense of pride to be to blame.
I mean, it is part. I do take pride in being the blame, but it's not just like a delusional pride. I can justify the pride and us being to blame because, again, if we believe in Kamala, like the way we believe in Obama, we could have swung this election, but a lot of us decided to sit this one out or either go third party or either vote Trump. And they say we're only 13%, but that's a little hard to believe the way they like kind of pan it to us and they just always talk about our vote. Like, why would they really talk about the black male vote if it's only like 6% of the population?
Because it's a significantly more percentage of Democratic votes. That's the reason why.
Because we vote in the block.
We like, you got to win the black vote significantly to be successful as a Democrat. Really, I don't want to cut you off, so you could go ahead.
I mean, no, I'm okay with the back and forth because that's kind of what I was saying, or maybe I can say it a little better. Like if we're a block vote and then we become unreliable as a block, then that is impactful and partly to blame because she really failed to connect with the black masses. The only people, like the black elites, were on her. Like all the Diddy lists were with her, or maybe coerced. I don't know, but. And then, a lot of like the intersectional community, she got them. But with Obama, he got all of us. And that didn't happen this time around. I think that could have been very helpful, at least made it a much closer election. But this time, like, she was so like wildly unpopular that it's difficult to. It was kind of a joint effort. Like, she's not a likable person. Like, her voice is annoying. She never answers the question. She can't make it through an interview without somebody holding her hand. She never won an election. She depended on the California machine to get her in power over there, more so than like her popularity or anything like that. And she also kind of, it's evident she messed with some dudes who got her some of her positions too. So she never really got anything on her own merit. So she was, so it's difficult to take full credit, but I wouldn't just say that we don't deserve any of this blame. And I also don't like how social media seemed like a lot of black men, they were trying to like kind of cop and please, like, oh, it's not our fault, don't blame us. Like, nah, we don't owe nobody. Like, we can vote for how we feel like voting. So if they want to blame us, blame us. Like, we don't. You know what I mean?
I mean, numbers wise, it wasn't our fault. Like,
he said, "Fuck it, take the blame."
Like, I mean, like most of us still voted for Kamala. Still,
I know, but the volume was down though, was it not? I think there was like more voter apathy this time around, especially compared to Obama.
A little bit, but I think you saw the swing in like the Latino vote and like the women.
I think it. I haven't seen official numbers, but I think that like if we just look at North Carolina, 20% of North Carolina is black. I think 10% of black people in general voted. I think it was like 4% men, 6% women. So even within that, that's around like the average of what nationally people vote. Like, we don't have like a heavy voting United States in general. Like that's one of the bad things about just the United States in general, is that people don't vote as much as they should. To where it wasn't like crazy off. It wasn't like a drastic drop in it.
So I thought the Latinos, I thought they typically have a split vote. So this election, it wasn't anything new. But we voted Democrat upwards of 90% before, haven't we not?
Yeah, we
but I think their swing was fairly big. I think it was like 15% or something like that.
Yeah, 12, 15. They had a big swing.
So last time they voted 15 for the ones that voted for Biden, 15% less of them voted for Kamala.
Yeah. Or voted for Trump.
Oh, voted for Trump. Oh, okay. That's the other thing too, because I don't think Trump's votes for us necessarily went high as much too. I mean, high as much either. We just didn't. A lot of us just didn't vote for Kamala, like on this panel. Like nobody's even like fessing up to voting for Trump, but nobody said they voted for Kamala.
I was surprised by the one meme and the guy, and he mentioned the youth vote that she lost that significantly with him. Like, and that was kind of like alarming to me, because I thought she was going to clean up with that.
So this is where it's like, for me, with the original question, it's like, one, blaming, like, who is it to blame? That is a very democratic way of looking at the results, and that's why they in this position in the first place. They're always trying to blame people for their lack of results. It's like, you don't own these votes. You have to earn these votes, and you didn't earn them. So it's not anybody's fault. Like, you didn't do good enough. Like, when you're at your job and you don't get the results, good luck telling your boss it's somebody else's fault. You know what I'm saying? Like, at the end of the day, you were a politician, you running to win an election, you didn't win. It's your fault. You got to take accountability for what you didn't do correct. And I think looking at white people, like, white people are going to be white. So I'm not expecting them to like vote majority out of their best interest. And honestly, if I'm a white person in America, why wouldn't I vote for Trump? If I'm being honest, like, he represents more of what I would feel white people would want to, have at the head of the table, in my opinion.
Unless you're gay,
Unless you're gay,
I'm just saying, generally speaking, because I don't think there's still a lot of that community that did vote for him in certain states too. So I the Caitlyn Jenners of the world, but I don't want to go down a wormhole. But so I think, if we're going to look at it through that democratic lens of who to blame, Latin men and young people, like A Black just said, and low-key first-time voters. there were less first-time voters this time around compared to the first election, or not the first, but the last election. But the majority of first-time voters this time around were voting for Donald Trump, which I think is an interesting fact. Like, that's just the reality. The majority of first-time voters in America did not, or they did vote for Trump. When you look at that swing of Latino men, like, that is a huge swing compared to the prior. It's like double-digit points. That is remarkable from a political feat. That is crazy. And when you look at young people, like A Black said, this is where podcasts come in handy, because Trump went Aiden Ross. Donald Trump Jr. was on Academics early. Trump went and sat down with Flagrant. Trump went and sat down with Joe Biden. Trump went and sat, not Joe Biden, Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan.
Trump went and sat down with a hell of a lot of podcasts that are tailored towards younger audiences. And what's also a part of younger audiences? First-time voters. So strategically speaking, you know, that is Trump's strong suit. His marketing, his ability to connect message with like, that's just something I don't understand, but it's undeniably masterful at it, and he's done well. So I think if we're going to blame anybody, you got to blame, say, Latin men at the head of the line. Second would be young voters. And then third would be new voters. That's how I would look at it if there's a blame. But ultimately, the blame is on the Democratic Party, because it's on you to earn those votes.
Hey, Q, that's that victim mentality we were talking about in the chat, where you just want to blame somebody else. You know, that's more evident of a victim mentality than acknowledging our history in America as a Black person. You know?
And I also think the celebrity endorsements did them more harm than good this time. Like,
right?
I would blame that as well. Yeah, like some of the worst people endorsing them. I'm like, what? Everybody should represent you and your brand. It's like, you can support, but you ain't supposed to have everybody representing you. But that's why.
And on cue, we have this meme sent in.
Free Tory, man.
Right here was cooked. People in the background. That's
the meme says people are saying this is the reason Kamala lost the election.
Y'all want the whites to vote for that?
So I guess I'll throw this into the air. Even though I thought, you did make a great point, which we'll get to later about why the right has been winning. But let's kind of finish this one off with asking, what did she do wrong? And again, we have an example of, again, Megan Thee Stallion. You had Cardi. She brought Cardi B up. She brought Beyonce. She brought Glorilla. There we go. She performed F&F. But as we've spoken about, there has been an issue with voter apathy. As we've spoken about, there has been an issue with identity politics. As G kind of hinted at, better campaigning, making sure that you reach maybe even across the aisle to platforms that reach different voter bases outside of a Club Shay Shay or All the Smoke or Breakfast Club. So I'll ask y'all, what do you think is the big issue? Or what did she do wrong, should I say?
Oh my gosh.
So what did she do wrong?
You just listed it, bro.
Yeah, I think it was kind of tough for her to, because a lot of people just wasn't rocking with the Democratic Party no matter what. So I mean, it's hard to say one specific thing. I would say the policies that she did have, she should have put them out there earlier. Talking to Black men, she should have, been on that like first day. But outside of that, it was hard to see how she was going to win either way. So I don't know what she did wrong, except just being a Black woman. That kind of.
So you just thought that she was kind of being a Black woman was what did it?
I think there's a lot of people on that side that we're gonna have trouble voting for a Black woman.
Who, talking about Kamala?
Yeah.
Nah, I kind of, man, I don't like that narrative, man. I feel like
I think we had this one sent into the chat. Said, "Black woman, you can be the most qualified in the room and still dot.
Yeah, man, you can't.
She's an Indian.
You're not qualified. You didn't get voted in. Like you didn't go through the process. But like I hate they making this like this anti-woman thing. You got Black women making history. People voting blue in areas.
Yeah, shout out to the Senate.
In the House of Reps. You got North Carolina who voted red for Trump and blue for governor. We didn't vote for Mark Robinson. Like so people have sense and shit. They like who they like. But I hate making this, oh, y'all just don't like women. Y'all not ready for a woman to lead. No, we're not ready for that woman to lead. Like, you give Michelle Obama a fair fight with Donald Trump in the same amount of campaign time, she can beat him.
But there's still a lot of people that's not going to vote for Michelle Obama for the same reason.
There's a lot of people that's not going to vote for Hillary, but they not going to vote for Kamala.
Michelle Obama has a real base. She has a real fan base. She would have more people would have turned out to vote if Michelle Obama was in that race versus Kamala. Like, we did talk about a drop off. Do you think more people would have came out to vote overall if it was Michelle versus Kamala?
I think Michelle would have been a better candidate for sure, but do you think she would have been able to draw enough white women or Latino voters to beat Trump? I think that would have still been a tough ask for.
I would have Michelle Obama beating Trump, to be honest. But I never mind. I would go a little bit to what G talked about earlier, where if I was to give my own personal version of where I think that she dropped the ball at, I think Trump is just a master marketer. And she didn't do the campaigning right, especially with having a shot clock. Where even if you
came out strong. She came out strong.
No, she came out strong, but then even when she came out strong, she went ghost for almost a month. And everybody was like, when she gonna do her first interview?
Yep.
And then her first interview was her sitting beside, her vice president running mate, and them kind of going over rehearsed questions where then it became this big thing about, damn, do she say anything that doesn't sound rehearsed? Can we have just a human interview where she's just not literally just saying rehearsed things and then redirecting everything back to Trump? But yeah, again, to me, when you look at what Trump did do in the last 60 days and what she did, he put on a marketing blitz. And whether good press, bad press, he was going to go to every single place that he could go to that was going to get his name out. He's going to go to McDonald's. She said, my vote is trash. I'm going to go be the trash man. He did everything. In comparison to her, where she wanted Joe Rogan to even though she asked him, she wanted him to capitulate to her schedule. She didn't do any really big podcasts or platforms that weren't black. Outside of maybe she did a little slut podcast. I can't remember the name of it.
The Freak Off podcast.
And so then it was damn, marketing wise, you didn't reach across the aisle and try and appeal to just your average white consumer. And then that's when you think of damn, you had Taylor Swift. That's white woman Jesus. And you didn't even use her the proper way. And I just think it was really, really bad marketing. In my opinion, I think that's, if I was to push one of the buttons and be this will be a primary one, I think that she didn't do enough. And it was a bit of entitlement to think that people are just going to vote for you because of who you are and who people say that you are. And I got that from a lot of her supporters as well.
Yeah.
You make it sound like Trump was a mastermind. Go ahead.
Agree with Amanda Seals until she said, she got invited to meet Kamala and told her to her face that she was disingenuous. And I think that is the main thing with her campaign is people over this whole political correctness, this whole thing that politicians do of acting like they holier than thou, they never do no wrong. They're so good. They're so be real, be yourself. Who are you? And it just always feel like
she needed that Joe Rogan the podcast. She needed that 3-hour podcast.
You would ate her alive, bro.
But Joe Rogan wasn't looking to eat either one of them alive.
But
you could tell that with the Trump one.
She would have hung herself though.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah.
Possibly.
That's why she avoided. Like that's why, and I think that's why her team avoided it for her. Like,
yeah, they wanted to make sure that they flew him out. They wanted to make it under an hour. I was like, God damn.
They were hand holding all of her public announcements. They were super like
that shit don't work.
Super, what's the word? Curated. It was like so.
But it was overly curated to a fault. But my bad, A Black.
No, I was just saying, like, she just had to be more authentic. Like, America is way more transparent now because of the internet and social media and all the knowledge we have access to. So that whole way of politicking, it didn't work for her. Like, you got to be real and transparent and, like, show who you really are. Like, Trump, whatever you don't like about him, you know who the fuck he is. And that's what resonates with a lot of people. They don't got to wonder. Democrats is always the switcheroo. They present one person and they get in office and they be another one. And people just like, yo, you got opportunity to kind of show who you are. Why are we questioning your identity? Why are we questioning your race and your family? Like, why is this stuff still a question? Because you haven't really been an authentic person. You know, you got tapes and videos of you South Asian and being Indian and being all of these things to win in those areas. And like now, it's like, all right, you're black. Technically, we know you black. We know the one drop rule in America and all of that stuff. But also, what are you culturally? Like, we know you went to HBCU, but we know a lot of others go to HBCUs too. So you are just missing opportunities to be authentic. You like got that gap of like no interviews, like to really touch people. And now you throwing celebrities in people's faces. The Democrats say we gonna make millionaires and millionaires pay their fair share of taxes. But here, let this multimillionaires talk to y'all. Like, what are y'all doing? Like, where's the working class people and shit? Like, you're not supposed to be bringing stars on. You're supposed to be creating stars. Like, who is this dude who spoke at this rally that nobody knows that everybody knows tomorrow? Beyonce don't never talk about no politics. What is she doing there? I'm here as a mother. There's a lot of fucking mothers. What is she doing here? She never talk about nothing. So it's an insult because you make it feel like, all right, I got one of these popular people. Y'all gotta vote for me. I'm the cool
What you
kid.
mean, hey, Black? She got a song called Freedom. What you mean she don't talk about nothing?
She didn't even sing it though. We don't pay her to talk. We pay her to sing.
That was the Jon Stewart joke. But yeah, Alex Orange. I got a sneaky suspicion. Maybe this is Alex, but
they played that freedom. They played that freedom. They played that freedom at the end of her concession speech, which, by the way, as a side note, might have been her best speech in the whole damn campaign when the shit was over. I don't know if y'all heard her give her concession speech at Howard earlier today, but
I just heard it. She said her heart was full of. She said her heart was full a couple times, but I do want to speak to this really quickly, where I think that in these conversations often, to give a critique of one, we usually think that means an endorsement of the other, right? Where, to me, Trump was just better at marketing. So, yes, Trump, he brought out Trick in Detroit. Like, he brought out Chef G inside New York. He brought out Hulk Hogan during the RNC. Like, he did the thing, but across the board, he just marketed himself better. Not even saying he didn't go down to the low-hanging, like he was in McDonald's serving people bare hand fries. Like he was like Trump was wilding too, but his marketing worked.
And he fed them college players McDonald's too, so it all ties into the brand. Like he was feeding the national champions McDonald's in the White House. Like it's all on brand. Like this nigga's a marketing genius. Like.
He is, but we can't act like he didn't have some blunders though. But it's just like Kamala was so.
Oh no, he did for sure. That's the point I'm saying. Like he definitely had his blunders. I think that Kamala just didn't take advantage of opportunities that she should have. Like to me, I don't see how you do not speak to Joe Rogan, in my opinion. I agree. In the first day of the interview, they did 30 million. That was more than all of her interviews in podcasts combined to that point.
The biggest
thing at that point, the biggest thing that she did was at like 1.5 or something like that million. So to me, even if it whether it works or it doesn't work, having access to 30 million outside of your base like it's pivotal, it's big, and especially if you're going on like the last week and your last push. To me, I don't see how you drop the ball and feel too entitled to do that, in my opinion.
McKee, you gotta understand, she might be the worst public speaking politicians we've seen like of all time.
I don't even think that she speak worse than Trump, to be honest. I think that they hold her hand too much.
She can't. She remember when the teleprompter went off, and then she.
I don't know if I seen
the
that.
Same thing,
but I wouldn't say she speaks like better than Trump. Trump is just authentic. And she's rehearsed. Like that's just the difference. Yeah, Trump is witty. He's funny. He's like he has a personality. Kamala didn't show personality. She didn't show charisma. She didn't really show.
I agree with all these things. Yeah.
Any of those things. Whereas Trump
she felt like a robot.
Yeah, exactly.
What politician does like? There's no politician that you can say put those qualities on that they put in front of a microphone all the time. Like she.
Some, yeah.
Like,
even
give me
like
an example.
To me, what's the dude named Pete Buttigieg or whatever?
Buttigieg.
When he is in front of a camera or in front of an audience, he knows how to sound like a regular person, like he's just speaking off the top of his mind, talking with you, not necessarily to you. Like he doesn't sound rehearsed, but he's got his talking points down. Obviously, Obama's arguably the GOAT in terms of just like charisma and personality, like that, arguably the GOAT. But there are other politicians who do that way better than what Kamala did in the Democratic Party. Pete Buttigieg, I think, is one that just,
I think you're agreeing with Trey Point.
Okay.
He was saying, he was saying name someone that's successful that doesn't do that.
Oh, well. Okay. I thought he was saying that nobody does.
Who's less well spoken than Kamala Harris? I can't think of a soul.
But I don't think that it's a problem of being well spoken as much as like she just sounds overly rehearsed. Because to me, I understand what she's saying. It just sounds like she's reading off a teleprompter, correct? Even when there's no teleprompter. And that they practiced the conversation like 15 times and how to pivot out of it. It's like when the NBA players in their second year, they got like 1 year media training. So like they go to like their direct rehearsed responses every single time. And that's what she always sounds like to me.